In this tutorial, we will have a look how we can create this collectible coin as you can see. So we will create in this tutorial and let's dive into in this tutorial. Let's firstly find the spreadsheet. So I'm gonna move over to my project tab, assets, and then spreads folder, and I have it over here as you can notice. So I'm gonna select that spreadsheet. Of course, I will have a link in the description. You can go and check that out. So I'm gonna select the sprite. I'm gonna select my spreadsheet. Let's go over to inspector. Click on open sprite editor. As you can see, we have more than one sprite. So we need to choose this sprite mode to multiple in the inspector, and pixel per unit we're gonna choose something around 16 like that. And after that we're gonna move over to filter mode, and we're gonna choose point no filter. Why? Because if you take a closer look, you can see it seems too much blurry. So to get rid of that, we need to choose this filter mode to point no filter. So we're gonna choose that, and after doing that, let's scroll down to the bottom and let's click on this apply button. And as soon as we clicked apply, now as you can see, blurry is gone now, and we need to slice individually. To slice this individually, in the sprite editor tab in the top left we can see slice. So just click there and select automatic to grid by cell count and count how many columns and rows it has. So it has 9 columns, so we're gonna put 9 columns and 1 row. And after doing that, let's click on slice and then click on this apply button in the sprite editor tab. And I'm gonna select my game view once again, and now let's move over to that spreadsheet and then click on this arrow in order to see the individual. So what we can simply do, we can simply select the first select this one, and we can just drag it into this in view or into this hierarchy. But instead of doing this, we're gonna do something else, because what we also want a animation clip which will be, it will go up and over time it's gonna fade out. So we also want to have that animation clip. We're gonna have spinning animation clip of this coin and also that one. So that's why we're gonna create an empty game object first. So what we will do, we're gonna select our sprite sheet from the hierarchy or in this in view, and let's delete it. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna create an empty game object first. So let's go to hierarchy, click on this plus icon, or right click on your hierarchy, then then click on this create an empty game object, and I'm gonna select this game object. Let's drag it in the top, and let's go to inspector transform. Let's right click there and reset it, and I'm gonna select this move tool from here in this in view, and I'm gonna move it somewhere around here, and I'm gonna choose n gizmos for it. To do so, let's go to inspector, click here, and we're gonna choose this one, and I'm gonna call this game object to something like coin parent, or we can simply call this one something like coin. So I'm gonna call it coin or coin parent, you can call as well. And now what you can simply do, you can simply select your any sprite, basically individual sprite of that coin sprite, and then drag it over to this coin game object in the hierarchy. So it's gonna be a child of that, and I'm gonna call this game object to something like coin icon, or we can simply call this one coin image as well. And make sure you go to transform, right click and reset the transform. So it's gonna reset the position as the position of our parent game object. And now if I select my coin game object, try to move anywhere in the scene view, as you can see the coin icon or the coin image as well going with it. And now what we have to do, we're gonna add some components to this coin game object. So the first thing, I'm gonna add so let's click on this add component. I'm gonna add a box collider 2D, and I'm gonna check this is triggered to true, or else this coin game object just gonna register our player to pass through it. So that's why we're gonna check this is trigger. And second component, I'm gonna add a rigid body 2D, and I'm gonna set the body type to kinematic, so it's not gonna fall down due to our gravity. So let's click on add component, and let's find a rigid body 2D, and let's set the body type to kinematic. And collision detection, we're gonna choose continuous, and that's it we need to do. So it's not gonna fall down due to our gravity, and we are ready to make the animation. and we're gonna make the animation in the child game object, not with the parent one. So that's why we created a empty game object first, and we just made that parent, and then we created the child game object. So we're gonna make the animation inside the child game object, not the parent one. So what we will do, we're gonna select we're gonna move over to that sprite sheet, click on this arrow and select all of these individual sprites of that coin, and then drag it over to this coin icon game object in the hierarchy, and not the parent one. Instead drag it top of this child game object. And now we're gonna move over to assets. In assets, I already created a animation folder, as you can notice. So I'm gonna open that up, and I'm gonna call this animation to something like coin underscore spinning, something like that. So this will be the spinning one. So now if I select my coin icon and move over to animation tab, and then click on this play button, we can see indeed coin is spinning over again and again. And we also need to create another animation which will be collected one or fading out. So we're going to select our coin icon game object once again, then move over to animation tab, click over here, and then click on this create new clip. And we're gonna call this clip to something like or this animation coin underscore fade out or collected. Let's call it collected, collected, something like that. And let's click on save button, and we need to make the animation. So make sure you just click on this red button in order to make the animation. And we're gonna move over to something like 1 second, and we will select our coin icon game object in the hierarchy underneath our coin game object, and we're gonna move a little bit in the up direction, and over time we just want to fade that out. To do so, we're gonna move over to sprite renderer component of this coin icon game object, then color. Let's click on that color. In the bottom you can see a, which is 255. So we're gonna drag it all the way to the 0. And now if we click on this play button, we can see firstly the coin is going up, and over time it's just fading out. And we don't want this animation clip to be looped, so we need to uncheck the loop time. But before we do, make sure you click on this red button to capture the animation, or you can simply leave it, it's gonna create the animation automatically. And now what we have to do, we need to uncheck the loop time of this animation clip. So I'm going to move over to my project tab, and then assets, and then animation folder. Basically we need to move over to that folder in which folder we just created this animation clip. So in my case, I have created inside this animation folder, and I can see we have the coin underscore collected animation clip, as well as the coin underscore spinning. So I'm gonna choose my collected one. So let's choose that, go over to inspector, and we're gonna uncheck the loop time, because I don't want this animation clip to be looped. So that's why. And if I select now, so make sure you select your parent game object, coin parent, or basically the parent, and make that one a prefab, so you're gonna have the copy. So I'm gonna select my coin game object in the hierarchy, and let's drag it over to this assets folder, or simply you can create a prefab folder and then drag it there. And now I just made it a prefab. And also I want to tag this coin game object as a coin tag, so this player game object easily know that we're just collecting our coin. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move over to my inspector. Firstly we will select our coin game object in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector tag. As you can see, it says untag, so just click there, and then click on this add tag, and then click on this plus icon, name the tag something around coin. I already name it a coin tag, as you can see. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my that game object one more time in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector and tag at it says untag. So let's click there, and we're gonna assign with coin. Now now as you can see, I have assigned this coin as a coin tag, and now we need to detect. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna simply open up my player scape. So let's select player game object in the hierarchy, and let's open up the player scape by double clicking on it. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move over to on trigger enter 2D function. For now I'm gonna remove this. So make sure you include this function, and it's called on trigger enter 2D function, and this function get called when we trigger with something. So we definitely gonna trigger with this coin game object, or simply we're going to collide with this coin game object, then what we need to do, we need to basically we need to collect that coin. And we also need to make transition between our coin. So if I select my coin game object, then coin icon, then move over to animator tab, as you can see by default we have, sorry, not by default, we created two animation clip. We have coin spinning and the coin collected. So we need to make transition between these state. So let's right click on this coin spinning and make transition to coin collected. And if we select our transition, basically this arrow, go over to inspector, we're gonna uncheck this has exit time, because as soon as player trigger with this coin, we just want to play the coin collected animation clip right away. So that's why we just uncheck the has exit time. Also transition duration, we're gonna set it to 0. And if we scroll down, we need to choose a basically a condition, in which condition we want to play. So we're gonna set a condition for it. So we will move over to animator tab, then this parameter, click on this plus icon, and then choose a trigger, and we can simply call this trigger to something like collected. So I'm gonna call it collected, and we're gonna choose this condition. So let's click on this plus icon in the inspector, and we're gonna choose this collected. So if we click on this play button in the top by now and try to trigger this collected parameter manually, you will see from this coin spinning, the coin collected animation clip will be played. Why? Because we just triggering that parameter. So just wait a moment, and as you can, so just wait. So as you can see, it's playing the coin spinning, and if I just trigger this collected parameter, and as you can see, it's played the coin collected animation clip. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it. So I'm gonna get out of play mode. So we need to trigger this parameter through our code. So we will go over to our script, and we're gonna move over to this on trigger enter today. If you haven't included this function, just include that, and this function get called when we trigger with something. And over here what we're gonna do, we can extract information by going over to this other parameter, or in your case it's just gonna be collision, something like that. So we're gonna take that parameter in order to extract information about what we trigger it with. So we're gonna use this if condition. Let's make first bracket and some curly brackets, and what we want to check over here, we basically want to check whatever game object we trigger it with, if that game object has a tag called coin. If that is the case, then we need to play trigger that collected parameter, which just gonna play the coin connected animation clip. As well, we need to collect our coin. So over here we're gonna use other, or in your case it's gonna be collision. So you can simply type collision dot game object, and in my case I'm gonna type other dot game object dot tag if it equals to coin. If that is the case, so what we're doing over here, other dot game object dot tag basically means the game object we trigger it with. So if this player game object trigger with this game object, this coin game object, then other dot game object other dot game object over here, it's gonna be this coin game object. And what we're doing, we're just extracting the tag of that game object, and we're checking if the tag is equals to coin. In quotation we need to do. So we do know that we assigned this coin game object as a coin tag, as you can notice over here in the inspector. So we definitely gonna trigger with that. So in that situation, what we need to do, we basically need to trigger that collected parameter. So what we will do, we're gonna use other dot game object, and other dot game object basically means the coin game object, but we want to access the child game object of that coin. So we're gonna use this dot transform dot get child function, and it's gonna take the child that we're looking for. So we're gonna pass 0. 0 basically referencing the first child, and after that we will go to that game object, and then we're gonna get the animator component. So we're gonna use this dot get component, and the component we're looking for is animator. So we're going to type this and make this first bracket, and then we're going to use dot set trigger function, and this set trigger function in quotation, it's going to take the parameter name. So if we move to Unity, parameter name we can see collected. So make sure you spelling it correct and you do inside quotation. So the parameter name is collected, and now we're going to close that up with semicolon. So other dot game object dot transform basically means the game object we trigger it with. So that we definitely gonna trigger with this game object. Then what we're doing, we just going over to this coin game object, then this transform component, and we using this dot get child function in order to get the child, and 0 over here basically referencing the first child. And if you looking for second child, then you can simply pass 1 over here instead of 0. So we using get child, and we basically going over to this coin icon game object. As you can see, dot get child means over here that coin icon, and then we accessing the whole game object, and then we trying to getting the animator component. So if I move to Unity and select this coin icon game object underneath my coin in the hierarchy, go over to inspector. As you can see, inside this coin icon game object we have this animator component. So we just going over to that animator component, and then we using dot set trigger function in order to trigger this parameter. So firstly we going over to this coin game object, then this coin icon game object, and then we going over to this animator component, and by this animator component we basically triggering this collected parameter. So I hope you get the idea. And after that, what we need to do, we need to destroy that coin as well after 1 second, because after 1 second it just completing the fading out animation clip. So that's why we're gonna use this destroy function, and this destroy function as a first argument, it's gonna take the game object we want to destroy. So we're gonna pass other dot game object, and other dot game object basically means that coin game object that we trigger it with. And second thing, comma, we can specify the time. So I'm gonna put 1f, basically means 1 second, and let's close that off with semicolon, and we're gonna press down Ctrl S to save our script. And now if I move over to Unity, you will see as soon as we're gonna trigger with that coin game object, that coin just gonna play this coin collected animation clip, and after 1 second that coin just gonna destroy. And you can create a variable to keep track of how many coins you collected. So you can just move over to your script and go to top of your class and make a variable something like current coin or something like that. So I hope you get the idea, and let's give it a moment to compile our script. And once it's done, we can simply play our game and we can check that out. So whenever we're gonna trigger with that coin game object, that animation clip will be played. Now it's fine. So if I click on this play button in the top by now, and then try to trigger with this coin game object, we will able to see the coin firstly its spinning animation will be played, and as soon as we're gonna trigger with that, it's gonna play the coin fading out. So now if I trigger with this coin, as you can see, as soon as we trigger it, that coin just played that collected animation clip, and we also not able to notice in the hierarchy, as you can see that coin game object. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it, and I'm gonna get out of play mode. And if you want to support me guys, you can do so on patreon.com. I have a link in the description, and I will see you in the next tutorial.